Black Ops 7 is a year 2 refinement of the COD formula and what we've seen the last couple of years, this time adding a bit more in variability with map sizing, new movement mechanics, and wall bounce, and other elements like aspects of gunplay. But with this game's launch now out of the way, differing matchmaking systems, new weapons to get to know, and more, today I want to run down a few tips to improve your game with our annual guide here. Drop your thoughts as we go along. What's an area that you feel like you're struggling? What's an area you feel like you're struggling with? Or if you got something you'd like to add to the list, feel free to. We're all here for the same reason, to improve upon our gameplay experience together. Drop your thoughts, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe to stay updated with all things Black Ops 7 and other FPS content like Battlefield 6, RedSec, Arc Raiders, and more. Been having a blast juggling multiple games and their launches here recently, so we'd love to have in the community as we chase down 700,000 subscribers together. But for now, let's get into it. So first things first, let's talk about perfecting your settings early, because before you even jump into a game, settings can make or break some of your experience. This year, we don't have a full settings guide up here with it. I have a few friends that have put up some great guides if you want to check out everything, but a few things that I'd recommend are, of course, your FOV values, sensitivities. That kind of stuff is all subjective. I can't tell you one way that's going to be definitely better than the other. The one thing that I would recommend for sure, though, checking out for yourself which you feel like you enjoy more is your aim response curve types for dynamic versus linear this year. With the adjustments to aim assist and what they changed with the launch of Black Ops 7, the reverse S-curve acceleration and deceleration with dynamic could be something that might feel like an odd adjustment here. So linear might be one of those things that does feel better. However, again, it's entirely subjective. So make sure you check that out among all your other user-specific settings that you have on offer. In-game tips, before you jump into a game, if you feel like it, warming up can always help. Getting that shot ready, kind of getting that feel on the sticks or mouse and keys before you actually jump into a match where everything's live. You have the firing range, practice course, and of course private match with bots this year that you have the availability to do all that across a various number of ways. Whether again, as simple as just jumping into the firing range and trying to snap to some dummies to get your aim a little warmed up, or actually playing with bots or something like that to warm up movement and aim. It's really all up to you. But when it comes down to it, fundamentally speaking, I think that a lot of people may try to force playing different modes that they may not necessarily be comfortable with sometimes, and that is one of the biggest things that, fundamentally speaking, can make or break your experience. From even the onset, core versus hardcore, and the game modes that there is in each of those. Core obviously grants you more health, a visible HUD with more immediate information to you, but also takes more time to kill enemies along the way. Hardcore is that minimal information until earned through score streaks, limited health, and all that, but both have their respective place for different types of players. I think that both work perfectly well depending on what you're trying to accomplish in your gameplay experience. Personally, I've always gravitated towards hardcore for like camo grinding, since most headshot challenges, the bulk of your challenges for camos, are going to be 1 or 2 shots at the most to the head every single time. SMGs being those 2 shots, maybe at a distance 3 because the damage drop-offs, but you get what I mean. You have that better chance of landing those shots being more pinpoint precise rather than having to land 2 or 3, sometimes 4 shots if you deviate from the head at all to end up getting a kill, and maybe not even getting the headshot sometimes at that point. But you also have to recognize this means slowing down your pace drastically. You can't be running headfirst into every single engagement. You're gonna want to have your gun up and do things like maxing strafing speed out where possible to end up getting your gun up and having it up, taking the best chances in those gunfights, getting the first shot on target. Core gives you that fighting chance in a gunfight where if you're shot first, it's not immediate death. Sometimes you can get out of there, turn on the player, and you turn the tables on that player. It gives you that readily available information to contribute to your map knowledge. We'll come back to that in a second, but like using your mini map to deduce where enemies could be is hugely important, right? Like if there's an empty space around you where there's not a teammate in sight, you look at that mini map and you're like, oh, I'm isolated here. You very well may just be in enemy territory, so you should be aware of and be heads up that there could be a fight around any corner at that point. Mode-specific recommendations, though, again, coming down to what you want to accomplish out of your gameplay experience, TDM is the simple chase kills. Sporadic spawns here and there, but very straightforward. You see an enemy player, take him down. Domination allows for more map control of you or your squad you're with. Know how to control that map flow. You don't push into spawns to flip players out. You can end up playing a spawn trap system at that point, even if not like watching players spawn in that sort of sense of what people think of, but like controlling it where the enemies always have to run to you and you're in those power positions. Hardpoint and kill confirmed are great for objective score and great for XP overall, but come down to a bit more competitive flow and hardpoint, and also kill confirmed just being a bit more sporadic at some points. Weapon selection is another big thing that can really help out your gameplay experience, which is again subjective. Unless you're going for camos or ranking weapons up, which I'd recommend because you never know what are going to be the best weapons in the future after adjustments. Call of Duty has a very distinct history of kind of manipulating the meta in that sense, where they want to push certain weapons sometimes into that limelight. So getting a fill early on when everybody's still trying to figure out what the best guns in the game are can give you that leg up in the future as well. But if you're going for camos, that's great as well. However, at the end of the day, also, who cares? If you have those weapons that you do like, that's totally fine as well if you want to stick to the M15 or the MXR for the most part. If it works well for you, you feel like you can work well with that weapon, use it. Also, make sure you're kitting your weapons out as you rank them up in the manners that fit your playstyle. You can watch all these class setups in the world and say, hey, the MXR is the best weapon in the game or something like that, with this mobility build or this recoil build. But if it's not something that you care about, being a movement demon or somebody that wants a laser pointer and you want to just try out a different setup for a different attribute, obviously it comes down to a different set of attachments. Figuring out what you want for each build is something that comes along with, again, the subjective nature of it all. Key attributes to take a look at, though, are, of course, recoil mitigation, mobility, ADS, and sprint to fire speeds, as well as like strafing abilities. Again, if you come back to that hardcore nature of it, having that strafing speed is incredibly helpful with that. But min-maxing how you see fit, that's entirely up to you, but focusing on either one attribute set or a hybrid of that is the best way to approach it. Being ready for engagements is absolutely something that can help out your gameplay experience as well. The time to kill and time to death, TTK and TTD, they can be a little weird in this game. I feel like for some situations with like packet bursting, I've noticed some inconsistencies where I'm like, that guy should have either died a little sooner or I should have stayed alive a little longer. But being ready for those engagements, giving yourself that first chance in any of those situations, having that gun up, strafing around corners, you name it, it just gives you a better opportunity to end up making the most of those upcoming gunfights. Crosshair placement is also one of the big things that I find myself guilty of all the time, especially with Black Ops 7, because truth be told, like I'll be 100% honest with you guys here, I haven't played controller more than like half a dozen times since March. But jumping back into Black Ops 7, playing COD mostly on controller here, but everything else on mouse and keys, it's one of those things that I will absolutely find myself looking down a little lower than I probably should have with my crosshair placement. So if somebody comes around a corner, maybe I'm hitting their legs or waist or maybe like middle stomach, lower chest, but not getting the best of those multipliers for upper chest and headshot multipliers. Practicing what feels good and what's actually chest or head height to get that additional potential for the better damage output with those locational modifiers. Taking the time to get those in sync so they're one-to-one, that's something that will make a world of a difference in your gameplay experience once you get those down pat. Recognizing the pace of the game as well as something that can be very beneficial here. Obviously, omni movement with the now wall bouncing that you have available, that's something that you're gonna see some people going all out. They're gonna see some movement demons, but like for me, that's not me. So like I'm gonna play it not necessarily like camping or like super slow, but if I see somebody off in the distance just doing all too much, I'm just gonna let them come to me and let them make the mistake, because like if I'm trying to track them through all that kind of stuff, chances are I'm not going to. But if they're slide canceling past the door like 3-4 times and I know they have to push into me, let them come to me. I'll be ready for them at that point once they push through that door, because I'm not trying to match that same playstyle. Same thing goes for a number of different scenarios where, again, you can dictate the pace of play by just having the enemies come to you at that point. Not necessarily trying to outthink them, let them do too much. Power positions are absolutely everything as well. This can be said in any COD game, any shooter really, where you have the positioning. If you have an upper position in terms of like elevation, obviously an enemy has to push to you, that it gives you that space that you can retreat back a little bit if you need to make some adjustments to reload, heal up a little bit, you name it. But also things like head glitches. If you can end up getting a position that overlooks somewhere where somebody has to go through the open, but you have that cover, obviously that's the more advantageous position to have. Also being conscious of having to make those dashes through those open areas, if you have a smoke or something like that, can help out greatly. Movement and map traversal is also something that it comes with recognizing the flow of these maps. Power positions lead to high traffic areas, so if you can pinpoint those and then either expect engagements there or avoid them entirely for maybe like a flank, you're golden in that regard. And the final thing that we'll talk about in regards to like categories of tips here is that information is everything. As we talked about, use that minimap. If you have the availability to end up noticing that there's no players around you or that there are players around you, that dictates on where you should be going in terms of that map flow. Being able to end up seeing, oh, if there's no one around me, I might be around where they're spawning. I might be around where players are going to be coming. But if they are by you, well, you can end up using that to get away from your team to break off or lead them into battle, I guess you could say, if you want to put it that way. Utilizing information-based perks as well, your combat specialties. Obviously very helpful in helping out knowing where teammates are, in knowing where the combat will be, where your enemies will be. And then the last thing that I can highly recommend that I say every single year, I know it's not necessarily possible for everybody. Like myself, outside of the last couple of years, I was predominantly a solo player. But if you can, play in a party. More sets of eyes, more communication can oftentimes just lead to brute forcing your way through steamrolling any lobby you come up against. This year with the dubbed open matchmaking, it's not necessarily as so much important as years prior. Like in the past, if you had a full 6-man stack or 4 to 5-man even, you could basically brute force a lot of the matchmaking where you weren't going to find that many other squads that would have that amount of squad sizes going up against you directly. You could kind of steamroll lobbies as is, but now, even if you are playing solo with open matchmaking, you're not going to get as strict skill-based, which is definitely nice, obviously, but just know that playing in a party is still very advantageous. But for now, that's where we're going to wrap it up. That is a handful of gameplay tips here, how to improve your experience, and just a few simple tips, how to slightly tweak how you approach the game so you have a better time. That's where we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is there anything you'd like to add to the list? Anything that you would subtract? Feel free to let me know. But if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. Of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so almost a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 7, Battlefield 6, Red Sect, Arc Raiders, and even more FPS content. Been having a blast again, covering multiple games here on the channel and doing some variety. So I'd love having the community if you'd love to join us along for the ride. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.